Hey everybody, what's up? Jesse Lee here, and I'm here on this exciting case study with Mr. Chris Jasper, YouTuber who has about 45,000 subscribers, something like that, and he's getting quite a few thousand views a month in the tens of thousands. And we just did his course launch and yielded about $65,000 in 1 week, which is a good, a great result. So I wanted to provide this case study and yeah, and just anybody who's interested in doing a product launch or anything, this will give you a little bit of background on my process and actual, um, you know, real results because we're talking, this is a real project that we did. And yeah, so anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and let Mr. Chris Jasper introduce himself. Chris, why don't you tell us a little about yourself, man?
Well, my work is I am now a member of Floriani Sacred Music, but prior to that, I founded the online Gregorian Chant Academy, because that's my background is in sacred music and Gregorian chant,
Hmm.
and then last year, 2023. I contacted Giorgio, the director of Floriani, and asked him if he wanted to merge our two um, companies' organizations together
Hmm.
to be even more beneficial. And we agreed and signed the contract, and now we're two in one. And I continue my work um, teaching Gregorian chant.
Awesome. Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the teaching, who you're actually teaching to? Because not a lot of people who are viewing this, they might not be musicians, they might not be singers or anything like that.
Sure.
So go ahead and give us a little background on that and kind of your sort of client type, the people that you're trying to teach and serve.
Sure. Maybe a little bit about my background is like how I got into chant, and then how I'm trying to pass that on is I grew up in obviously Catholic. I grew up in the traditional Catholic rite, and hearing Gregorian chant every Sunday and holy days, and also in the home listening to a lot of recordings of chant. And from as early as I can remember, chant was my most favorite music. I just
Hmm.
loved it.
Hmm.
And I never thought of pursuing it as a career until I was probably in my 20s. And then I decided to try to pursue sacred music for a career. And I started directing, well, I started singing in choirs in about 1997. And then I started directing about 10 years later.
Hmm.
And I had several opportunities of going to Europe, to France, to study Gregorian chant from the masters at the Abbey of Solesmes. And so I just spent all of my time really studying and trying to become as proficient as I could and continue to this day.
Hmm.
But then in January of 2021, I decided, maybe I should. This was actually a thought that had been brewing in my mind for 10 years prior.
Hmm.
But I thought maybe now is the right time that I should try to pass this on to others and share the knowledge and experience that I have and help others learn Gregorian chant in a medium that I hadn't really seen done before for
Hmm.
Gregorian chant.
Hmm.
Because I tried searching all over online, especially on YouTube, for tutorials in Gregorian chant, and what I found was very little, and and what I did find, I just didn't feel was very satisfactory.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I want to present a full, um, a really in-depth, full systematic curriculum that people can follow through from beginning to end.
Hmm.
They can start off as a total beginner, not
Hmm.
knowing anything, and when they finish, they'll be quite proficient.
Hmm.
And so that's what I set out to do, starting on YouTube,
Hmm.
trying to bring beginners, introduce them to this, and bring them to a proficient level, and even provide material that even people who have been singing for a long time might not be aware of, and help them grow as well.
Hmm.
And that mission has turned into what it is today.
Yeah, well, that's really amazing. So I know this is going to speak to my clientele and my audience as well because I have like a lot of different people coming from different areas, but there's this internal thing where uh, you happen to be in the music world, but I have another guy who's an animator. I have a lot of different. I have another person who works in government contracting. The one thing that they all have in common is that you feel like there's something inside you that you like reached a level of proficiency and you want to give back to the world in some way.
Mm,
And so that leads you to down the path of how do I share this with people? And obviously
yeah.
you've done a really good job on building your YouTube channel,
Right.
so.
Well, and prior to that, I mentioned I didn't really pursue this as a career until in my 20s,
Mhm.
because prior to that, I was actually pursuing a career in acting and filmmaking.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I
Wow.
ended up still able to take that and put it
Yeah.
to use in
Yeah,
this.
that makes sense. Why I always thought your YouTube videos, like especially the way you set things up. I'm like, if you look at my background and everything, I'm kind of like a little bit fly by the hip, fly by the seat of your pants. But your everything's very staged and good lighting and everything, so it makes total sense. Um, that's awesome. Okay, so why don't you walk us through what your process was before you created Chris did an initial iteration of this course, created it. Um, and then how that led into what were the challenges. And I know obviously when you got on board with Floriani, there was challenges, just on the marketing side and everything. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your process before and then the challenges you were encountering with that?
Right. So before joining Floriani, I was trying to run this academy entirely myself. Every single aspect of the business was doing it myself.
Hmm.
And I was also in the beginning trying to do this chant work alongside part time alongside another full time job. I had my
Hmm.
own woodworking company,
Hmm.
and I said I can't keep doing this back and forth. It's got to be either the woodworking or the chant. One's got to go. And I thought, up until now, I've been putting everything on YouTube for free, but now's the time where if something's going to go, it's got to be, if people want to continue to learn, they're going to have to pay for it,
Hmm.
because I can't keep doing all this for free. So I decided, that's when I created a website, and I'm going to put my course here. I'm going to create a course that they're going to have to pay for. And when I announced that, then I would, all the seats were, because I limited the seats, and they sold out right away. And I was like, all right, well, this is it. So I'm gonna quit my woodworking, and I can do this full time now. But the problem was, I was searching for a platform where I could sell my course and build it at the same time.
Mm. Mm.
And what I came across was a an app called Volley,
Hmm.
and which subsequently ended up losing its funding and going under, but now has been resurrected. So
Interesting.
anyway, I was building it on this app, which I guess you could say is kind of similar. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Circle, or there's a couple other ones where um, it's kind of like Slack, but with video and audio capabilities. And it just seemed, for this purpose of selling it while building it, it was just kind of the right fit, because I couldn't find anything else that really allowed for that.
Hmm.
The problem was, it's not built, it wasn't designed for a course, and so there was a lot of limitations within it.
Hmm.
For example, I could not record a lesson and then edit it and all that and then upload it. I
Hmm.
had to record in the app with a
Hmm.
certain time limit,
Hmm.
and then after I was done recording, that's it. There's no editing. It's there.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of um, limitations inside the program, as well as I the way in which I made it. In this process of just making it, I had the general outline. I want to cover these specific topics,
Hmm.
these sections, these modules.
Hmm.
But then within each of those, I didn't really have anything planned out. I made it lesson by lesson, nothing scripted, just all in my head with maybe some bullet points on a you know thing like this,
Hmm.
and that's how I crafted it.
Hmm.
So then Volley went under, and I had to move everything over to my own website.
Hmm.
And it just reached this point where I can't keep going myself anymore. I need
Hmm.
a team.
Hmm.
And rather than create a company, a nonprofit, and compete with others, I saw Floriani, whose director Giorgio is, I've known since he was a little kid. And Floriani's mission was practically perfectly aligned with mine. And so I reached out to Giorgio and I said, "What do you think about joining so we can, unite our efforts and our resources and mutually enrich, our mission?" And say, "Yeah." So we joined, and then that's the point when it was decided we need to remake this course much more professionally,
Hmm.
much more organized, which it didn't have before. So now in this new one, it was going back and looking at everything that I had created before and figuring out how can I make this better? What worked? What didn't work? How
Hmm.
can I make everything much more succinct and
Hmm.
efficient?
Hmm.
And then, of course, just a better overall quality production.
Hmm.
And so that's what we set out to do. And so ever since February or March, I've been working on that. And I got to a point where it's about halfway through the production, and we decided, all right, we're halfway through, we're ready to launch. Let's go ahead and launch this, and we can continue working and finishing it off as we go. So that's the point we've reached now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Now, if you could let me just hone in real tight here. If you could name
Sure.
one, like name your the biggest problem that you were having before we started working together, me with you and Floriani, the biggest problem, what would that be?
So the biggest problem I would say is that within Floriani, we never had anyone that was a dedicated marketing manager, right?
Hmm.
I was in charge of creating all of this kind of academic tutorial stuff of chant. Giorgio's in charge of artistic directing. Thomas is in charge of organizing, scheduling. Graham is in charge of social media. We didn't have anyone that was really dedicated and really knowledgeable in marketing strategies.
Hmm.
And so we're all kind of trying to help each other out in that area as best we can, but there's all this crossover, and what we really needed was just one guy who really knew how to do marketing and could handle that for us.
Hmm.
And obviously we found that in Jesse Lee Yarbrough.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome.
And it's proven to be quite awesome.
Yeah. I'm very happy to hear that, man. It was a great experience. But yeah, for those of you who are wondering about this, there will be a full written case study on this and exactly the launch process. So um, let's see. Okay, cool. This is awesome. All right, so the search for the solution, you talked about that a little bit. Yeah. Do you
By
have
the
any?
way,
Yeah. What's up?
yes, yesterday or the day before, whatever, you congratulated on the success of this recent launch of the course. But I have to say congratulations to you, because if it wasn't for your marketing skills, I don't
Thanks.
think this would have been so successful as it was. It could have been a flop. So it's really, the success, I think, is more due to your skills than efforts.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But it's also nice, I will say, working with the team. As a business owner, I know this too, where you're like, I have like 1,000 things to do. I just need some help in these other areas, So
Yeah.
I totally understand that. Everyone who's listening to this right now understands that. So yeah. Okay, cool. I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Um, Okay, cool. Let's see. Yeah, so let's talk about. Um, we talked about the search for solution. Um, do you have any insight? Because I know that I'm going to have another chat with Graham at some point and maybe try to get you all on one call. But what was it that convinced you guys that and I was up to snuff that you guys are like, okay, we want to move forward with this guy. I mean, I don't know if you were a part of all the conversations because I think we both kind of came on at a similar time. So I don't know if that was something that was in the works before you came around or if that was something that.
Yeah. So I don't recall coming in contact with you until maybe uh back in the spring.
Mhm. Gotcha. Gotcha.
maybe late
Hmm.
spring. I don't recall exactly, and so I
Hmm.
don't know when exactly they started bringing you on and for
Yeah.
consultation.
Yeah.
I
That was
think it
about
was
the
a
time.
okay,
Hmm.
but I do remember there was a lot of conversations that they had with you that I wasn't in because you're dealing more with the album,
Hmm.
and I was deep into working on creating this course. So
Hmm.
um, there were some conversations that I missed there, but specifically remember when you started sending your game plans and strategies in those tutorial videos, like, all right, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to have, this sales funnel here. We're going to do this launch and with this and that and
Hmm.
on this platforms, and then I'll create this landing page here and that'll funnel people to this. And it was this whole graphics with like four different options, and it was like, dang, yeah, like any one of these is really good, but holy cow, this guy knows what he's doing.
Cool.
This is awesome. And it's like something, I think all of us, you know, we don't have the experience and training and marketing like you have, but we recognize that. And it's like,
Hmm.
yes, that's,
Hmm.
that's it. That's what we've been looking for,
Hmm.
and so
Yeah.
it's just been a huge, huge help.
Yeah, that's my job is to kind of codify things and make because oftentimes you don't know what you're looking for until you spot it and you're like, oh, that's it, but you don't know how to name it.
Exactly.
If you don't have
Yeah.
experience in the world, you have no idea how to name it. So
Yeah.
that's okay, cool. All right, so all right, let's go. Let's dive into the solution. When I came on board, um, let's see. What there's a few questions here. How did working with me help you launch your online course? Let's see. Let's see. How? Yeah, I have a couple written out here. How did my consulting services help you make more money? Right. So I don't know if you have any insight into what you were making before, and then how
Yeah.
obviously we have insight on the finances of our current launch, but and then the last. So there's the money part. Um, and then there's time. Is there any way in which my services have saved you all time and effort?
A ton of time. Yes. Uh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just because you think about the amount of time that you, who are professional, a professional marketer, who have the years of experience and training doing this, how much time it took you versus how much time it would take us to do that on top of what
Mhm.
we're already trying to do,
Yeah,
So, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, it just saves astronomical amount of time.
yeah. Because you
Um,
essentially have to get another, like a master's degree, if you want to do all this stuff, right? It's a whole nother skill
right.
set. So you got to
Exactly.
not only do you have to spend time doing the thing, but you have to spend time learning how to do the thing and then do the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then,
yeah.
stuff like the processes we went through where you're doing all the copywriting, you're writing out,
Mhm.
whether it's an email script or a video script, things like that, and I would go and I would make modifications or whatever to personalize and this, that, and the other, and I'd put in my things, and you're like, well, it's not so good to mention that. I would reword it like this, or move that down here and move it around there, or let's wait till the next launch before mentioning this, whatever. And like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that, but that makes a whole lot of sense. I was like, if I'm trying to do it myself, I might like, hey, this is a good idea, but then I could end up, screwing something up or just not
Mhm.
making it as effective as it could be,
Mhm.
because also the layout of what it is you write, the structure that it contains is very well thought out
Mhm.
and very specific and very goal oriented,
Mhm.
solution oriented, and um, it's very clear when you look at those documents that you write up,
Mhm.
and the workflow, the launch flow and everything,
Mhm.
all of that just comes together, and it's like it, it just makes a world of difference.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think that's something that I remember struggling with this when I first started. Is you can make one piece of content really. This if a YouTube video. Oh, am I going to study really write out a good script, make it really crush? But you got to think of the whole web of like the end goal is here, and there's like a
Hmm.
thousand steps your user could take, and they're over here. So you want to think about how does that tie into everything else. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
having it all integrated and
yeah,
connected, and
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Um, let's see. Yeah, that's really good. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm glad I've never officially asked you that question. Like, how much
Yeah.
effort has
Well,
or time has this
let me
saved?
look at my script here, and
Yeah.
let me see what you wanted me to say. Let
Yeah.
me see.
This is
Oh, I
not
missed
scripted.
this part here.
You're gonna have to go and retake that. That's good.
Hey, wait, you didn't ask me
Uh,
this question yet, and I didn't say this.
yeah, yeah.
Just
That's
kidding. None
good.
of this is scripted. No.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the results we achieved. So where were you before? What kind of results were you getting? And then for this launch, we did a 1 week launch. You can just talk about all the results that you saw, monetary or non-monetary. And yeah, so just feel free to yeah rant on that for a little while.
So prior to this, when I was building the first beta course, the beta version of it, um, I decided I knew enough about marketing that it's a good idea to have the scarcity.
Hmm.
So I did my and also the pricing. So I did my research to find out what is a good ballpark figure price
Hmm.
that is not too high, not too low. And
Hmm.
I found that price and I set it what I thought was a good one. And then for that scarcity, I was doing open enrollments, one every month, but each month was limited to 12 seats.
Hmm.
And for the first few months, it sold out, but
Hmm.
then it started petering off,
Hmm.
and then it would come up, and then it would go up. So on average, I would say I was probably pulling in um, for well, it's because it changed so much. If it sold out, that was $6,000 a month,
Hmm.
but sometimes it was only $2,000 a month.
Hmm.
So, and this is over the course of almost 2 years
Hmm.
until I joined Floriani and started working on this um, remake, the 2.0 version of this course, and then
Hmm.
you came on, and
Hmm.
now with this recent release, instead of $2,000 a month, $6,000 a month, $1,000 a month, it was $66,000 in 1 week. And it was like, that's a big difference. you know I mean, that's a year's worth salary
Yeah.
in 1 week.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's pretty awesome.
uh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest part about my job, I mean, I love helping people with is when they finally believe they can do those numbers. Because a lot of people don't believe it. So you have proof now. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
we just did 66K in 1 week. That's a big
Yeah.
deal, you know. And these are not even for anybody watching. I'm going to also post case studies. He mentioned the album before. I'll post results to that too. We did another album launch that, yeah, it did really well. So, um, anyway,
And then of
yeah.
course beyond the financial was just getting that many people to sign up.
Hmm.
And I think we had oh, close to 100 new. No, I think it was over 100 because there were some latecomers.
Hmm.
I think it peaked 100
Hmm.
for
Yeah.
the new signups.
Yeah. 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 I think
So
that.
just being able to get that many to come in and learn,
Mhm.
it's just that's what our mission's all about.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right. When you said you're picking the right price point, we were debating on, okay, is it 497, 590, 697? We settled on
Yeah.
697 because for our, the target audience we're working with, it's like those people are, they're very devoted to their craft. Maybe they want to do some sort of, they want to have a choir director position or something like that. But maybe they already went to school and got their degree and they don't have another $60,000 to shell out. So this course came along, it was actually quite a good deal for them. You know, $600-700.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, yeah, and the other thing that you helped enlighten me on too is just the strange psychology involved.
Hmm.
Where
Yeah.
somebody wants to take this course, but if you don't get the price right, even if
Hmm.
it's low, they
Hmm.
won't get it. They want to
Yeah.
take it,
Hmm.
but they see a price, and even if you raise that price, then they'll get it.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
you would think, oh, it's just
Yeah.
always about lowering the price, but no,
Hmm.
sometimes you lower the price and that causes them to not get it.
Yeah.
So then you
Yeah.
got to raise the price and then they'll get it. So
Yeah.
it's just this strange psychology around that. You have to find that right price point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's
then of
very
course
true.
not everybody. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. Please go.
I was going to say of course not everybody can afford that price that we set. We decided on 697. So then we also came up with a variety of ways that can make it more affordable to those.
Hmm.
There was two different sets of group discounts, 20% off and 50% off for
Hmm.
different size groups.
Hmm.
And then also the ability to pay in installments,
Yeah. Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know. So it makes it hugely available.
Yeah, yeah, and that's very right. There's this weird thing that happens when it's a kind of a it's like when you go to dinner and you're like, well, there's this place here on Google Maps or Yelp or whatever. It says it's fast food. It's only $1 sign. But what's the
Yeah,
quality of food I'm really going to get? You know, if you're going to get terrible,
exactly.
if it's 2.5 star rating, you know, whereas if you raise it a little, there does, it's, you have to frame it the right way because you have to make sure people know that there's way more expensive things out there that are,
Right.
they, I mean, again, we were talking about music degrees, right? People who want to be a choir
Mhm.
director. It's like, what, you got 40, 50, $60,000 on hand to spend. So you
Right.
frame it with like, look, here's all the things you could be doing, and we give you what you need, but for this, you know,
Right.
but having so you're framing it where it's like lower than this thing up here, but where it is in relation to all the other, we're looking up some other courses on this stuff, and we're
Yeah.
finding 25, 50, $150. When people see a slightly higher price point in their mind, they're thinking, oh, this is a premium,
Yeah.
and plus,
This is quality,
yeah,
whereas
yeah,
the
yeah.
cheaper stuff is like the junk food and
Yeah, exactly,
um
exactly. And what I'm going to do for anybody watching this case study is I'll post a video around here somewhere so you can see the sales video, if I have Chris's permission.
yeah.
So you can see how we spelled out what people actually got in the course, the value that they got, because we really did. And we spent a long time. And maybe you can talk about this. Is all the work we did to make sure people knew that they were getting a massively awesome deal, right? It wasn't just, hey, buy this
Yeah.
course. It was like, hey, buy this course. Here's all the curriculum you're going to get. Here's all the bonuses, all these different things. I don't know if
Right.
you want to speak to that a little bit, like, making sure
Yeah, so
people know.
I mean for one, this whole launch, I think we spent probably a month and a half
Hmm.
working on, prepping and getting everything just right, doing the research we needed. But then in regards to the pricing, it was probably a couple weeks worth of just kind of doing research on that,
Hmm.
looking around, finding different courses, whether they be actual Gregorian chant courses or just music courses in general,
Hmm.
online and in person, all around the world. And there were several that were, $25, $100, things like that. And some of them I actually signed up and took so that I could see what they were like. And it was
Hmm.
like, this is a nice introduction
Yeah.
to chant. You know, they've got wonderful voices,
Hmm.
but it's not really teaching you much,
Hmm.
how to actually sing it. It's
Hmm.
more of like an introduction. Or they are teaching you, but the quality is really low.
Hmm.
And then of course, then there were those courses that were just astronomically priced, where you're online for one single lesson, ear training or 101, and it's like $1,500 for not
Yeah.
even being credited,
Hmm. Yeah.
just one little
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was just, but then your directives, like when I was placing those figures in there in the script, and I just had it kind of jumbled in there. And you're like, no, 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 look, we need to have the right sequence of presenting it.
Hmm.
Present the highest number first,
Hmm.
the highest cost, then go to the next highest cost, then the next highest cost. So you're working your way down until you get to our cost as the lowest, but the greatest value, and
Hmm.
giving you
Hmm.
precisely what you need.
Yeah, exactly what
So
people
yeah,
need. Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
throwing this stuff in there all jumbled, and
Hmm.
so
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit more. Let me look at my questions here. What specific results we achieved? We talked about that. We talked about how long it would take to see the results. This is, you'd mentioned a month and a half of prep work and everything. And some people might say that that's like kind of a long time. But in relation to what you had mentioned, having to do it yourself, maybe you could speak to that, like how much time this has saved you there, just not having to do it yourself.
well, yeah, I mean, if I was doing it myself, first of all, I don't know that I would spend that long on it because I wouldn't know what to do. you know, I would just, I would be doing my work and then be like, all right, I need to get this thing launched. So what am I gonna do? I'm probably gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and then hey, here's this course,
Yeah, yeah,
and then watch, five people sign up.
yeah.
So, and but if I knew what to do, if I knew all of these
Hmm.
steps and everything, trying to do it myself,
Hmm.
man, trying while trying to make the course at the same time would have taken me 5 times as long.
Yeah, yeah. There's one guy that I know, which his name's CM De La Vega. I'll post his. If you guys look around on my site, you'll see his. And but he and I created a course in about 8 weeks, and we did it live. So you have some stuff pre-recorded, but what we did is we sold it first and then recorded it live as we are kind of like putting the curriculum together. And we did. So he actually spent his own time creating his own course, and it took him 2 years to create a course. And then when he published it, it sold, a few $1,000s, but over the course of the whole life of it, which when he came to me was about a year and a half or 2 years after he had published. And so, same thing as you, where it's like there's a spike of sales in the beginning that it kind of dropped off. And
Hmm.
in our first week, we did more than twice what he had done in the entire time, right? So, and we recorded it in 8 weeks instead of we created a course
Yeah.
in 8 weeks instead of 2 years. So, yeah.
Well,
Anyway.
yeah, I mean, that's pretty much kind of how mine went, because mine
Hmm.
took 2 years to make.
Yeah.
And again, I was selling it and then making it live like he was. Um, I mean, they weren't live presentations,
Hmm.
but I would make it on the go.
Hmm.
And yeah, it started off real good, and then it kind of petered out because leading up to the first launch, I was, doing some marketing for it. But then once I got going, I was like, now I have to spend my time making this course. I don't have the
Yeah.
time
Hmm.
to devote to the marketing anymore.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so yeah, so then sales kind of went down,
Hmm.
and occasionally they would come back up, and
Hmm.
over the course of those 2 years, I probably got what we just made in 1 week.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's great. Making 1 week what you made in 2 years. That's
yeah,
that's not a bad system.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. But and now I do. What would you say? Let's see. I'm curious what your thoughts are in terms of any roadblocks you hit while we were, when I do these case studies, I try to be honest with people. The reason I ask certain questions is because I want them to be real about my process and let them know that, I'm still optimizing my process. It gets better all the time. Yours is not the first launch I've done, but it's better than the last one. So realistically, as we're going through any roadblocks or different things like that you hit or challenges during our process where you thought like that could be optimized. And it's okay if you think I did everything absolutely perfectly. That's totally fine. No.
Honestly, I can't think of anything.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, cool. That's move on to the next question.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
um,
I mean, only roadblocks might be like time, like waiting. You're trying to build something out, like maybe waiting on a landing page or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hmm. Yeah, like
and
technical
so
stuff
it's
as
something
well.
just has to like you originally had planned to mention this on this day, but it's not quite ready, so you just got to push it back a couple
Yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, like
that's
technical.
all I can
So
think
I
of.
think everyone deals with it because every client that I have, they have a different tech stack, and that's something we're always like dealing with. Is okay. We have to build something with the certain platform that we have or whatever. Somebody is using this email software and this course software. It's all this stuff. By the way, this is something that was like a challenge for us to work around was we had the custom platform, which ended up you know um, I mean, yeah, that ended up being its own bag of tricks, but I still feel like people saw the value in it and they purchased, So,
Yeah.
so what? Okay, well, in that, so how do I frame this question? Looking back in terms of how is working with me and going through how is going through this process changed the way you feel about launching an online course?
Confident, and confident and um, not stressed out. Yeah. I was like, all right, we're gonna do a launch. Great, we got Jesse on board because he knows what he's doing, and he's got this awesome plan going. So I can focus working on what I do best.
Mhm.
He can work on what he does best, which is the marketing, and I don't have to worry about that. He'll just kind of lead us along the way of what I need to do in that process, and yeah, and it just saves me a heck of a lot of stress, and then I know things are going to turn out well and following the system. Because the other thing I mentioned to you the other day um, was that early last year, early spring of 2023, I came down with a case of shingles because I was
Mm,
so stressed. I was
mm,
dealing with so much, because I was. This was before joining Floriani.
mhm.
There was just so much on my plate, both in terms of business and family and everything. I was like, I am so over my head. Like, I can't keep doing this by myself anymore. And I came down with shingles, and uh, that was not fun.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so joining Floriani really helped alleviate that because then I was already part of a team. I
Mhm,
didn't have to do everything myself anymore.
mhm,
And that opened up that I could kind of focus more just on my work.
mhm,
And then bringing you on board open that up even more because now we don't
mhm,
have to worry about each of us trying to figure out marketing strategies when none of us really knows marketing strategies very well.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and
Yeah.
now we have you to help us with that, and so that just unburdens even more stress
Yeah.
and makes it even more confident that when we do launch something, we're going to do it right.
That's awesome. That's so good to hear. Uh, okay. Well, I can piggyback on that and just as you talked about that reduction of stress, what would you see as the long-term effect or the long-term impact of having gone through this process and now you know that kind of how it goes a little better?
I see that as a whole, Floriani, we have a lot of different plans of things we want to create and do.
Hmm. That's true.
And some of the things are just uh, ideas that I have that would be more specific to Gregorian Chant Academy.
Hmm.
And then there's other plans and ideas that we have that are more just Floriani as a whole. But even just focusing just on the ones that I have, um, having the success of our album launch and of this course, it's like when we get around to actually making those other things that we have, we now know um, one how to go about making it better,
Hmm.
and two when it's done and ready, we know exactly how to market it and launch it
Hmm.
so that it's a successful launch.
Hmm.
Because we've already gone through two very successful launches.
Hmm.
We know now moving forward, you know, with your help and guidance, that's just gonna keep snowballing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, uh, man, you're giving these amazing answers. Um, all right, so what? What would
Did I say it? Did I say it
you
right?
did? Yeah, exactly like I told you on the script.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I really felt that one too. We don't have to do a retake on that. So, but okay, so what would you say to another YouTuber or influencer, somebody who's built up their own audience and they want to give back to the world in whatever way, regardless of niche? What would you say to somebody who's in that category, maybe they're on the fence, wondering if they should work with me, go through this process, whether it's an online course or e-commerce product or anything like that?
Don't do it. Don't hire Jesse. Don't hire Jesse. It's
Uh,
worthless. 99% of the success of this launch was really just me and my work. I mean, Jesse maybe helped like 1%, but it was, no, really. No, if you're looking for marketing, uh, and you need help with that, even if you know how to do it, but you just don't have the time to do it, and you need somebody to help out with that, for whatever reason, if you need marketing, yeah, go with Jesse. I mean, he knows his stuff and his strategies work. So yeah, I mean,
awesome.
we've 2 successful launches,
And more to come.
and more to come.
Yeah,
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 lots more,
yeah,
lots more.
absolutely. That's awesome. Cool. Well, I think that kind of
And that,
covers a
by the
lot
way,
of,
that's just 2 launches for us, aside from
yeah.
all the other ones that you've done for other people.
Yeah. This is, I can't remember what I'm on now, but yeah, this is really great.
5,000.
Yeah, 5,000. I think I've done 5,000 launches. Yeah, not quite. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, all right. Well, in that case, I think this kind of covers everything that I wanted to chat about. Are there any final thoughts that you wanted to share about this process with people who might be thinking about this, or anything that comes to mind that you're like, oh, I really wanted to talk about this, um, and I didn't get to yet?
Um, yeah. By the way, what is marketing? No, just yeah, just if you are in need of marketing, get Jesse. And if you're interested in Gregorian chant and sacred music, check out Floriani and Gregorian Chant Academy.
Yeah. Let's give you a little plug here. Where can people find you if they're interested in singing any sort of sacred music or music education or music history, things like that? Why don't you give a little bit more about where people can find you, your YouTube channel, your website?
So Gregorian Chant Academy and Floriani were started separately, but now we've joined together, so the two are one, but we still have 2 separate websites.
Mm-hmm.
Gregorian Chant Academy has its own website, gregorianchantacademy.com,
Mm-hmm.
and Floriani has its website, floriani.org.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a third site, which is where we are hosting our online courses and albums, media, etc., registration for events, and that is courses.floriani.org.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the 3 sites, but on
You're,
the Gregorian Chant Academy, you can get my previous chant recordings that I've made and purchase them and download them there. On the Floriani website, floriani.org, you can learn more about the organization and contacts to if you want to have us come out and give a concert or a workshop or anything like that, that's where you can do.
awesome. And what's the name of your YouTube channel so everyone can know?
So yeah, so we also each have YouTube channels. Gregorian Chant Academy is Gregorian Chant Academy on YouTube, and then Floriani's is Floriani Sacred Music on YouTube.
Perfect. Yeah. So these guys between Gregorian Chant Academy and Floriani, they have all of your music education needs as well as your music listening needs. So yeah, awesome. Well, dude, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me today, and really appreciate everything. And
Yeah, no
yeah,
problem.
all right. You have a wonderful day. And to my audience, you all have a wonderful day. We'll leave all the relevant links, all of this websites and all these things We'll leave them down below. Just check that out. And then if you want to reach out to me directly, there's going to be a link somewhere, probably below, somewhere on this page. You'll be able to reach out to me if you want to work together. So thank you all very much. Have a great day.